We want to see women and child development taken as a topmost priority for the Indian economic development. The more we promote women in our country, automatically we will move towards development. Awareness should be made as a practical field work for every single student of India. Conventional and the non-conventional energy will definitely make a difference in terms of development. Good morning and welcome to the last and final session of Chapter 8, Infrastructure. We have been speaking about infrastructure in different forms and factor and its importance when it comes to the national economy. So in this session, we are going to quickly cover into one of the most important topic called as the women's health. We have been talking about health and the healthcare infrastructure in the previous slides. And in this, we are going to talk specially about the women's health. Women constitute about half of the total population in India. Quite true. Why? Because we have 50% of women population in India. Absolutely one of the most best in terms of gender ratio. They suffer many disadvantages as compared to men in the areas of education, participation in economic activities and healthcare. Now, this is one point that we need to understand very clearly. Many a times, the women folk or the women population have not been provided equal opportunity as compared to men. That is probably one of the reasons where you see that women are not able to excel in many of the spheres of life. So that's the problem which needs to be addressed at the earliest possible. Today, what we have done is that in the modern times, we have started including the women population in every sector of the economy. These days, we are giving equal importance to women. We want to see women and child development taken as a topmost priority for the Indian economic development. But when it comes to certain sectors like education and especially towards the work or the employment, initially there were several sectors which did not want women to work. Especially if you start looking at the manufacturing sector, the defense sector, railways, these were certain sectors which were not really happy about or were not really open enough in terms of accepting the women workforce. And that was one of the reasons. What happened is that the economic activity was slightly on the downside. Now, when men and women work together in an organization, automatically the economic activity also doubles up. So that's the reason we want the women participation in every walk of life, in every sphere of life. So that is why we need to see that women's health is always taken care of. The next thing is the deterioration in child sex ratio from 945 in 1991 to 927 has revealed in the census of 2001 that the points of growing in the incidence of female feticide in the country. Now, still there are certain places in India where we have seen that they have got some sort of aberration, they have got some sort of deletion towards the female child. But going forward, let's try to understand the factors here that women and men are equal. At no point of time we can discriminate somebody based on sex, gender, caste, creed, religion, etc. We as a developing economy, we as a growing economy need to understand this factor very clearly. Unless and until we include the entire population of India, we will not be able to make a rapid industrial progress altogether. Now, moving forward, we also need to understand in women's health, close to 3 lakh girls under the age of 15 are not only married, but also are ready to have children. They have already at least once. So more than 50% of the married women between the age group of 15 and 49 have anemia, which means less in terms of the blood count. Nutritional anemia caused by iron deficiency, which has contributed to 19% of maternal deaths. Now, these are some certain points which are very alarming, disappointing, and depressing to us. The reason being is that still the people of India need to get educated. They need to be aware of the factor that how are we going to help the women population come front. How are we able to provide a girl child the best of the best education and opportunity so that she is able to deliver at her best level? There is no point in holding back a woman child and saying that you will not be able to perform. The main thing that we need to understand is that the more we promote women in our country, automatically we will move towards development. So we need to understand this factor and we need to provide them better facilities, better nutrition and healthcare facilities so that our country starts making progress. Abortion rates have also been a major cause for maternal morbidity in India. Quite an alarming thing. Why? Because even at the age when a woman wants to enjoy her life in terms of career, in terms of her education, qualification factors, she is being forced to take up a family life, which leads to a lot of abortion problems. So these kind of problems needs to be avoided, and we need to understand that women should be given their space, identity to perform, and then we will see that our country is able to make rapid strides in terms of development. Health is a vital public good. Please underline this word, and a basic human right. So health is something that cannot be taken as a choice. Health is something that needs to be taken as a priority. And if you're going to miss out on health, if you're going to miss out on that basic right, automatically the country will fall apart. So it's very, very important that we take care of health, especially the women's health. All citizens can get better health facilities and public healthcare services once they are decentralized, once they are made accessible, and once the government starts stepping in, making it even more comfortable for all the citizens. Now, moving forward, in the case of women health, we are also worried about the long-term battle against diseases. Why? Because there are many kinds of diseases which are particularly affecting the women, which leads to a sort of disruption in the entire system. So we need more efficient healthcare infrastructure that can take care of the women. It is therefore critical to create awareness on health and hygiene. Now, awareness, that word needs to be understood here. When I say about awareness, it is not just the theoretical factor. Awareness should be made as a practical field work for every single student of India, for every single citizen of India. This needs to be included in our syllabus. This needs to be included in our workplace. This needs to be included in every professional organization so that people come to know what is the importance of hygiene and sanitation. Then only we will be able to aspire for a better and healthy life altogether. So our job here is to provide efficient systems that will be helpful towards in terms of development. The role of telecom and IT sectors cannot be neglected. That is why today, if you see in the economy, all the apps are available in your mobile. It might be from a basic healthcare app, a pharmaceutical app. You can have all kind of apps in the mobile. So the mobile sector, that is the telecom sector, can be of a vital help to our nation by tracking the health of each and every citizen. So using the mobile apps, we can connect to the doctors, we can connect to the hospitals and try to see that immediately every single citizen is getting the best of the healthcare. These days, online consultations or digital video calling, conferencing, and all those facilities are available for every citizen in our country. So this kind of facility will make every citizen feel the factor that they are getting better healthcare system and they are able to connect with their doctor regarding any health issues. The effectiveness of healthcare program also rest on primary healthcare. So when I say the primary healthcare, starting up from the basic healthcare departments or hospitals that are available in a village, in a rural sector, these are all need to be stepped up, geared up to the level so that they are able to meet the demand. They are being projected as efficient systems which can take care of the millions of citizens in our country. Now, moving forward, the ultimate goal should be to help people move towards a better quality of life. We understand this and we stand by it. The ultimate aim here is to provide a better quality of life. So whatever it takes to make a better quality of life, we need to do it. So the private and public partnership can effectively ensure quality and affordability of both drugs and Medicare. This is highly mandatory. Why? Because we need to make the system in such a manner that the affordability, both in terms of the pharma as well as in terms of healthcare, is made available to every single citizen of this country. If that is not being accessible, if that is not being created, then there is no point in running such a large economy. So there is a sharp divide between the urban healthcare, that is the urban and rural healthcare, and we continue to ignore this depending on the divide, and we risk destabilizing the economic situation of our country. Somewhere down the lane, we need to understand that no more our country, India, can survive only by looking into the urban sector. We also need to look into the rural sector. We need to integrate the rural India with the urban India, and we need to start living as one country. We cannot just keep on talking about the commercialization process that happens in all those big cities and leave those small towns and villages apart, because even they are important, even they are mandatory in terms of the economic growth. So now it is a need for the public-private partnership to come up in every part of the country, take the risk, take the responsibility of developing our India as a stronger nation altogether. So we cannot just give up on this factor saying that things will happen on the own, or we cannot just say that the government will come and do it. We need to take initiative. We need to join hands. We need to integrate the urban India with rural India and reduce that divide altogether. We have to fill up the gap as fast as possible. In order to provide basic healthcare to all, accessibility and affordability needs to be integrated. So that word integrated is our key point. We need to integrate each and every healthcare center with its village, with the town, with the nearest place altogether. And we need to build a strong network of healthcare facility which is accessible and available to all the millions of citizens of our country. We cannot take these things lightly, especially in the current situation. You might have seen and experienced the need and the emergency factors for medical services. So at any given point of time, we need to see that every citizen at least has gotten access to the basic healthcare altogether. Now, moving forward, we come to the conclusion factor of this chapter. So this was a great chapter where we tried to understand a lot about infrastructure. So let's have a quick recap and try to understand what and all we studied in this chapter. The first thing that we tried to understand was infrastructure is a network of physical facilities and public services. So it's a combination of all, and it is equally important for the economic development of the country. The second thing that we studied was that it needs to be upgraded from time to time in order to maintain high economic growth. So the infrastructural facilities need to be upgraded, need to be taken care of altogether. It is important to develop rural infrastructural facilities. That was the factor that we were talking about in the slides, that at any given point of time, we need to keep in mind the rural India and develop with them. We cannot ignore them. We cannot say that that's a separate part, but we need to develop the rural infrastructural facility. The public and private partnership is required to bring in the change. As I told you, the concept of public-private partnership is going to be the next in thing that is going to change the dimension of India. And most importantly, we also spoke about energy, which is very, very vital for the rapid development of our economy, and all sources of energy, including the conventional and the non-conventional energy, will definitely make a difference in terms of development. Now, moving forward, the non-conventional sources of energy can be of great support to meet the shortage of energy. So we are going to look into the non-conventional energy part, and that's going to be a very big change or challenge altogether. The power sector is facing a huge number of problems at the generation, no problem about it, the transmission and at the distribution level. But then we need to overcome it because we want electricity to be available in our country 24/7. Health is going to be the yardstick of human well-being, physical well-being altogether, and we cannot afford losing out on the healthcare sector. There has also been a significant expansion on the physical provision of health services and improvement altogether since the independence. Now, moving forward, we also need to understand here that the public health system and facilities are not sufficient for the bulk of the population. There is still a wide gap that is between the urban-rural people. So we need to shorten the gap. We need to bring that gap down. And we also need to spend a lot of time in improving the women's health care in our country. So that's a great concern. Why? Because the reports of increasing female attacks or female death is causing a worry to our country altogether. Regulated private sector healthcare services can improve the services and can also bring in the picture of NGOs, cooperative societies, or a lot of self-help groups who can come forward and participate in this great revolution. That will be a service to the nation, and also we can bring in a better economic model for growth. The last but not the least, we were also talking about the natural systems of medicine that have been explored in our country, including the word called as Ayush. We had spoken about it and in our slides, which stands for Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Naturopathy, and the Homeopathy altogether, which was one of the most important factors that we were trying to talk about. Moving on. With this, we come to the conclusion of this chapter, chapter 8, Infrastructure. I hope and believe that this entire chapter was interesting, informative, and educative. The concept behind this entire chapter is to understand about the importance of infrastructure connecting to the economic development. So please spend some time in understanding the various factors of infrastructure, which will be useful for you both from the exam standpoint as well as from the conceptual knowledge. Thank you once again for joining me today.